Hi, everybody. So, Abby and I are here today to explain some stuff and talk about personal boundaries and what are we really doing right now? Like what's happening?
I think we're kind of here also to learn some stuff because we always learn
Yeah,
when we talk about this.
we
But I'm
do.
seeing this painting behind you. Are we allowed to have a quick look?
Yeah, so
Because
this
you
is
showed it to me.
the Phoenix that I was given, and it's
So,
I don't know, it's hard to see his head in that. But anyway, that was going to be a logo, and now I'm going to put it on t-shirts because I think the logo needed to be more simple. So, but it's amazing. And Molly painted
it
it.
is.
Yeah. So I put it under my video where I showed it. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, it's
So
fabulous.
you want to start talking about something up first. So let's launch into that.
Yeah, so basically we are going through what the Phoenix is going through. That's us. And I want to talk about the partnership between the body and the soul because it's unusual. So let's talk about that. I want to share the screen. And this is a very, very simple thing. But the soul and the body equal a team for ascension.
Mm.
And we're basically going through ascension with this. The soul is like the coach. So it's coaching the consciousness of the human body, which is becoming more and more expanded and more capable of doing amazing things. It's coaching it through this process. So it's amazing, really, like what we're doing right now.
I'm noticing as well that if you think of the body as the vessel or the container, for me personally, more of my soul is in my container than
Yeah.
ever before. So, as maybe when you're a baby, there's a trickle in there. And then as you grow and have your self awareness and start to become more you, more of yourself pours in. But one of the things that's really important to know is trauma and emotional pain clutter up the vessel.
Yeah.
So there's less room in the vessel for your soul energy, which is why it's so important right now to clear the trauma and the pain so more of the soul can come in. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I see it.
Oh, I totally agree. So when we started this process several years ago of ascension, and I honestly think we did start around 2012, but
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, when we started to clear. And I think we were probably 10% at that point. So 10% of our higher self or our soul was in the body, guiding us around,
Mm.
right? And right now, some people have hit 100. So you don't have the oversoul in your body. That would be outrageous for your vessel. That's not going to happen. But you have your higher self, which is a
Just
part of.
explain the oversoul again, just so that because I think part of the issue when we talk like this, I don't mean you and me, but people in general, is that we're all using similar language, but it can mean different things for different people. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
I
your
have a
oversoul.
picture. Okay.
Here's one I
So
prepared earlier.
yeah. So the oversoul is
A
this
sperm in it.
huge pancake up here, right? The little
Are they
dots
sperm?
are, huh?
Are they sperms?
They kind of look like sperms. But think of it, that's what starts life. And this is the way I was inspired to draw it. So anyway, they come down and one of these dots equals this higher being here, which is your soul. And then here you are as the human. So what's happening to the human right now? The human is getting upgraded. It's going from 2 strands of DNA to 12. It's going from a carbon-based body to a crystalline body. So the human's consciousness is rising right now. And you said something to me that was amazing, which was, you know, we never realized we were expected to do this much. And I got that message probably, I don't know, it came through somebody else. And it was probably a year ago. They never expected you to do this well, was the thing that came through.
This came up for me the other day when I was
Yeah.
talking with Anina in another video. And
Oh.
she said, yeah, and she said, and I don't know her that well, but she said, but sure, we all agreed to be here. We all contracted to be here. And I said, I don't think so. We're going to have to disagree on that. And she's like, and I'm like, oh no, what is she going to be when I disagree with her? But it was good to do that. And I said, because what I'm really beginning to feel is that, do you know, like in a computer game, you have certain tests and you're on a certain level and you have to pass the tests and you get to the end of the level and then you go on to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the expectation of us reaching the level that we're at as a collective was really there when we incarnated into these bodies. And so there was a time, and again, one of the things that Honey and I have on our list to talk about is we won't know the answers. We won't truly know, but the feeling and the sense that I get is that we all had to renegotiate all of our contracts because we all moved up to another level of this game earlier than was expected. Maybe our children were supposed to be the ones to get to that level, but we did. So there was a period in my life where I was wandering around like with that question mark over my head saying, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? What's the story? And it's like, then I feel like I went up to the oversoul. Now I think you know, in your can we see your picture again? Because I just want to explain something using your fabulous picture. But when you're looking at the higher self and the oversoul, right? There are lots of higher selves that group together as soul groups and help each other and work each other out, like soul family.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have guides that coach them at the soul level. So you're not on your own like that. So it's like groups of us had to all come together. So it's like when you and I met, right, honey? It's like you and I are in the same soul group. And
Yeah.
we took one look at each
And we
other.
knew.
And we
We're
knew
like,
on the same day. So for us to get through this next level, which I don't really think is going to come in until next year, we're still in a preparation phase. I think it was in our contract, our new renewed contract. Now, see how you feel about this, that we weren't going to go through this on our own. We needed our soul group to come together to support each other in this next level. So we had to bloody well meet each other, which is why I think this year many people were meeting many people from their soul groups and having these, oh my God, it's like I know you forever, but I never met you before in this physical reality. And suddenly these are your new best friends.
mm-hmm.
You know, and sure, there's going to be issues and problems because just because you're in the same soul group doesn't mean that the human incarnate is has done all their work, has cleared all their trauma, has removed all their triggers. And there's nothing like somebody from your own soul group to trigger the shit out of you.
Yeah.
So a lot of arguments, a lot of falling out, lots of coming back in together and all of that kind of thing. But it just feels like that was a condition that we had on the ground that says, I'm not going to do this next level unless I know I have some really good people around me that can support me, that I can depend on, that we can get through this together. And I think that's part of it. I don't know. How do you feel about
Yeah,
that?
I think that's what's going on right now. Like the soul groups are coming together and some of them don't even know. So they don't even have the language yet to know that they're in the same soul group.
But the hearts know.
Yeah, but they're coming together because the heart knows and the soul knows.
And the souls know. Yeah, the souls know and the hearts know. And I'm called to go back to what you were talking about in 2012, which is really interesting because my novels kind of start in 2012. And when I was finishing off the novels and I was writing the third one, which I've almost finished a year, one of my closest friends said, you know, don't even think of writing anything else until you've been away from these for a year. But it came right back to the beginning of where we are now, where her guide says to her, about the convergence is the beginning of what's coming next, and you have to do all your work now so that you're ready for it. So when you're saying 10% of us were in our soul, I don't think that was everybody. I think maybe the people who were ahead of the game only had 10% in. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and some people, it depends on the size of your soul or the age of your soul. Because I think as the soul gets older, because some came out sooner, if you think of God's source, some came out sooner and then some came out later. So not everybody just showed up at once and said, ta-da, let's create everything, because it would have been complete chaos. It was already pretty chaotic anyway. So some of us are older and some of us are younger. So if you are, let's say you've had 1,000 lifetimes, then you're probably fairly young. And most of those fairly young beings are in a little bit slower parallel because they have more that they're
Can you
learning.
explain that?
Yeah, so let's go to that. I think this is the wrong. Let me get in here. So this is what I drew this morning. So think of a cake. And at the very top of the cake is you're joyous, you're happy. You very rarely drop into like the yucky emotions. And if you do, you get yourself out pretty quick, right? Because you recognize it and it feels really yucky. The second one, you feel mostly happy. The third one, you feel happy, but you have a lot of moments of stress and anger. So you have more work. You're noticing you have more work. Now, these have infinite layers in between. This one at the bottom, the stress and anger, 80% of the time, that's a younger soul. So they're really being pushed through this ascension process.
Okay, so when you say layers of parallels, when you mean parallel lifetimes,
Parallel lifetimes and timelines as well.
or parallel timelines, because what I'm thinking is some of us are incarnated here in many, more than once, to add another layer of complexity on here.
Yeah, the rules changed on that recently. So we used to be soul-wise incarnated in many places. And recently that's been changed to only one. So we only have
one in a time. But what if you had an incarnation in the 1800s at the same time as now?
Yeah, you can have that, but not in the same parallel. So you could, in the past, like you could meet yourself accidentally, maybe. I don't think it would really happen very often, but you could be in the same timeline before. You could have multiple players, but now you can only have one per timeline.
I wonder then, honey, because we've asked for our soul tribe to come together, if you met yourself, would you be confusing yourself for a member of your soul tribe, but it's actually you? And so we don't want that to happen. And so that's why the rule changed.
That's part of it, I get, yeah. That's part of it. Part of it also was we didn't want one being to have too much influence, their perspective to have too much influence in each parallel.
I really get that each soul group or soul family has a different role, ultimately all to raise the level of the frequency and to bring in more and more light, but that the actual details, let's say if we have a mission, is different. Yeah. And so we're not treading on anybody else's toes. I mean, that's the language that just comes through. We don't want to tread on anybody else's toes, but some of us work better together. So we're doing it together. It's
and we work better as a soul family. So like the angelics are working together, right? And then the fairies are working together. So the elementals are working together.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how it works. And if you're an elemental, then you're going to have a better time with another elemental.
You're speaking the same language and putting out the same frequency.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm hearing the audience asking you, how do I know which one I am? I just could hear them.
Yeah. Think about what you love. What do you enjoy? What makes you happy? And then you'll know.
But ultimately, you don't need to know, do you? You don't
You
really need to.
don't, it'll happen anyway.
Can I offer something to the
Yeah.
people watching? If you don't, if you want to meet your soul family, if you're feeling like you haven't met them yet, that's more important than knowing what type of a being your soul is. It's more important to gather with your community of soul. So if you could just imagine yourself, your energy field, just connecting with it in your mind and clean it out a little bit, because it's also possible that you might need to do a little bit of work on yourself before they're happy to meet you, because maybe they do want to meet you, but they don't want to meet angry you. And there might be a little thing about you right now that's triggering you. I'm not saying you are angry. I'm just saying it's just an example. Or there could be, shards of guilt in you that are weighing down your energy that you just have. I'm just going to release this for once and for all. So I'm going to make a plea to anyone who's here to talk to your inner child, because they're the ones that hold on to this and say, look, if we could wave a magic wand and step into the best version of our life and the best parallel, and we have to get rid of this. And what are we holding it for anyway? So when you've cleared that, you could ask to be shown what you need to clear, and you can be shown in a dream, you can be shown in a movie, you can just be shown by picking up a book, or somebody can show you by having an argument with you, and that's where you get triggered, and that's what it is. So when you clear that, there's one more thing you need to do, and that's like a little light goes on in your energy field. I'm here, I'm ready, I'm here, I'm ready. And you send that beacon out into the world and to open your mind, because these people are not necessarily living next door to you, but they still could be. But I mean, Honey and I are miles and miles apart. And we met through the internet. So you could be meeting people that are on the internet that,
And it is
and take,
important to try and get together in person. Really is.
well, it's really fun to get together in person.
Oh, it's great.
It's great. I'm really looking forward to coming over.
Yeah.
You've been over to me, now I'm coming over to you, but sending that beacon out and not being quiet with it, not like hiding it, but just going, I'm here and I'm ready. And to really take the attitude of, I am the flower and the bee comes to me, instead of you having to like look everywhere, but to be here, to send that out. That might help a few people. Then when you get together, you can say, so are we fairies or are we angels? And it's just a bit of fun. You don't need to know. What you need to really know is what do we do now that we're together? And I think sometimes when you meet your soul family, the light just amplifies automatically. And then that gives you work to do to be able to hold it, which is back to the vessel, right? When the soul comes in, you have to be able to embody that soul. You need to keep it here. And there could be reasons why your soul doesn't want to stay, which is a lot of the soul retrieval work I would have done, power retrieval. It's saying you're not looking after yourself well enough. You need to tidy up your house. So I want to move in and live with you forever, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Things that get in the way are things like doing substances that are really hard on the body. Doing things that are really hard for the body, that are hurting your consciousness, or not having any boundaries.
But like lying, we go back to that one first.
Yeah.
Things because you can't actually be lying to yourself about something, as well as knowing that you're lying to someone else about something. And the more we ascend, the more we rise up, the more authentic we have to be, the higher integrity we have to have. And a word I hardly ever hear being used is congruence, which basically means as above, so below. You walk your talk. You really mean it. You don't fool yourself or anyone else. Hips don't lie, right?
No. And then when you mess it up, you say, okay, well, I messed that up. Where did I go wrong with it? What do I need to heal? and being able to say, okay, well, maybe that wasn't right, what just happened. So I'm going to go look and see what I can do to heal inside myself to create a better environment. And having boundaries for people, like some of the things, some of the programs that we've had, victimhood, martyrdom, I take care of everybody but myself, those kind of things, those need to go. We need to have strong boundaries about how we caretake our own body, and that will really help the soul be inside of us and take us forward.
It sounds like a lot. I don't want people listening to feel overwhelmed by this. I think it happens in a natural progression over time. And what's the next thing for you to do will be shown to you. It will be right in front of you.
It will. It will.
And also these groups, they're not all moving at the same speed. So you don't need to be in a rush. And Honey and I are here able to talk about this because we've probably done more, say, than normal people would do. Not to,
Yeah. Well, and that was our role. And also we had maybe more to heal, and we were healing others. So we had to do it in order to keep going forward. I spent a lot of time being inside and dealing with limiting stuff so that it's not there anymore, interfering with my progress. But that doesn't mean it's all completely fixed either. Like there's stuff, that keeps coming up. One thing that came up that's funny is, we're manifesting really fast now. And I said to my body, like, what do you need? Because I feel like you're missing something. And what do you need? And like 2 minutes later, I saw a little video about vitamin D3. Right? And I said, is that what you need? And my body said yes. So I either
That's
need
kind
more
of scary.
sun. Huh?
That's kind of scary.
I don't know. I thought it was great. I was like, okay, manifesting really quickly. Like you're going to get messages, just like a trigger is a message to clean that up.
So it's not enough now to just think about something and then you see it coming up on your feed of your but your body's now influencing your social
The
media.
vessels are getting strong. So, I mean, you have a vessel that's probably got close to 12 strands that are activated. And then you also have your crystalline structure that's like taking over. So, I mean, the vessel is getting very loud. It's telling us what it wants. Because it's going to become its own.
I'm noticing things that I used to have, my body doesn't want anymore. And stuff like supplements, I might only need to take them for 2 or 3 days. And then my body's like, no, I have enough for now. I'll tell you when I need some more. And the taste of food is kind of weird.
Food is weird. There's certain foods that I was told absolutely not. And I don't know if I'll be able to go back to them or if that's just done. One of them was eggs, which I was really disappointed. I used to be vegan. Now I can't be vegan anymore. My body's not okay with that. I think that's how my hormones got screwed up in the first place. So your body is going to tell you what you need to do for it. So it's important that we honor that partnership when we do it.
I'm getting like some information here. When we claim our spiritual sovereignty, which is part of what we've been going through, I'd say for the last 18 months, we claim our spiritual sovereignty outside of our bodies. And then that claim trickles into the body and affects the body. And so the flavor of our soul changes the technology of the body. So if your soul is from another planet, if the frequency of it, will change your body so that so there is no one size fits all. There is no one thing that everybody should do.
Mhm.
And some people are going to want to stay vegan, and some
Yeah.
people they want to go carnivore, and some people want to go, omnivore or whatever.
Or
And
breatharian.
breath, yeah, right now I
Yeah.
wish I could do that because my body just doesn't want any food at all right now. So I'm just like coaxing it gently, and then I don't have the energy, so they fucking forget it. So, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And we were talking just before we started to record, and I was telling Honey that I'm seeing my soul and my body working as a team, like you just did your beautiful drawing. And I said to my body, well, what else do you need to release so that more of the soul can come in? And so I went to a friend of mine who's a healer, and she ended up clearing something at the point of conception of this vessel,
Hmm.
which maybe a year ago I would have said, that's not going to be, that's just a made up thing, for God's sake. Well, I wouldn't have said that, but I wouldn't have really felt the impact of something like that would have been huge. But it was like total, I don't know. There's a movie, I can't remember which one, where things just kind of deconstruct and hang there in the air, deconstructed for a few minutes before they come back together. So and I feel like that kind of happened to me today, where I was just
Hmm.
totally opened out because this thing was gone, and now I'm kind of coming back together in a different way so that more of me can come in. And I might change my mind tomorrow then when I've settled more as to what I want to eat and what I don't want to do, because it's happening so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything we're doing now, it's like every single day you're learning something new or something new is coming in. Um, like the astral plane. I could not remember anything like probably 6 months ago. And now I have stories that come through. And I'm like, oh, I'll talk to somebody and I'll say, I was talking to you last night in the astral plane. You know, we had this big conversation, and that just happened today. That was the first time I've done that. But it was so interesting because my body was able to know that. Because I think for a long time, the body just couldn't receive that information. So we
No,
didn't,
it's like Avatar, the movie, where you just leave and the body's just sleeping. And
yeah.
then you're off doing something else, then you come back into the body. But now maybe the body's taking more of a role.
Yeah. And also wanting to know. So as you come back in, you're bringing your memories, your soul memories back in with you. And the body is interpreting them too.
But I
And
had a
maybe
weird
it's the cord
experience.
too, that silver cord. Maybe that's where the information is coming in.
I don't know. Did I tell you about this? I don't know if I told you about this, but I was driving home from a dinner. It was late. It was on the night of the blue moon,
Oh,
and there was nobody on the motorway. And I was driving my car, the new one, which I don't know. It's not that I'm not used to her yet. It's still new to me. And suddenly I dissociated. And it was just like I was watching everything. It was the glassy, or the texture of the whole fabric of everything changed. And I could feel in the back of my head this thought, if you don't snap out of this, you could crash the car. So then I felt myself, here's the weird part, driving the car.
wow.
So if this is like the Matrix setup, right, where we're somewhere else, so we're downloading into these bodies and we're doing stuff we're doing, then I had an awareness of that behind me. And I was kind of behind me, but also me, but feeling like I stepped into my body and I drove the car. So I was driving the car, and I'm like, this is just wild.
Yeah.
It was really strange. And then I was talking to a guy that I know about this, and he said he had a similar feeling too of dissociation.
I feel
So,
like
the
that's
manifestation, I think, is connected, because if we have
mhm.
more access to the bigger part of us, then we say what we want and then it's here because they're the ones that give it to us, maybe. I don't know. What you think?
Yeah, I mean, they are part of the ones that give it to us because the human construct, like this consciousness, is fairly young. But the beautiful thing about humanity is they don't hold a grudge, and they want to go barreling with positive, beautiful thought forward. So humanity is like a child, really, but a happy, beautiful child that's like, okay, well, that didn't work out. Let's go on to the next thing. And I think that's why humanity was so easy to enslave, because they would keep going. They would just keep going. But as far as what you were experiencing, yeah, that's like you were experiencing the link. And our soul has massive manifestation capabilities, and there's no time to it. It's just like, oh yeah, there it is, you know. And humanity is going to learn how to do that too.
You're making a really good case for there being humans and non-humans here.
Mm-hmm. True.
Because there's a lot of people, let's call them people, that aren't like that, that don't care. You know what, you have your narcissistic psychopathy. You know, I was listening to Jordan Peterson the other day, and he's so quick to label people. He's a psychopath, he's a sociopath, he's a narcissist, he's a severe, you know, all of this labeling. And I'm questioning the labeling as I'm listening to him. I'm going, no, I think he's right, actually. And it's kind of weird. So it's like we're weeding each other out, that we start to be able to tell who are the humans that we want to save and who are the ones that were, that, you know,
right.
I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to say it, but.
Well, if you have an NPC, right, maybe those NPCs, we're able to now see them as an archetype. And that archetype is like a chess piece that is teaching us something. Because
But for
really,
me, the NPC, the non-playing, they're kind of placid and they don't really have that much of an impact. So maybe there's three types. There's the humans or humanity, and then there's different levels of richness of the soul that comes in to humanity. And then there's the NPCs, or the background players, or the people that are just there that don't really seem, I don't know. It's like you're not putting them down. They're just there. And then there's
they're
the
almost like
nasty
a
ones.
hologram.
There's
Yeah.
the nasty ones as
So
a
the
third
nasty
type.
ones would maybe be on that bottom layer of the parallels. And right now, the parallels are all, I mean, there's nothing in between
They're
of those
smushing into each
cakes.
other.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, I can get up there and bother them, and then I'll come back down into my parallel. It's like little bugs inside the cake, you know, bouncing.
Okay, that kind of fits then. But as we move into, so the other realm would be 3D, 4D, 5D, and we're all kind of in 4D. There are these levels where those guys can't come in.
Yeah, they're going to start to separate.
So I've heard it described as like a glass ceiling, but it's not. For me, it feels more jelly. Feels more like jelly.
Yeah.
So we can go through it, but they can't. We can sink back down into it, realize what we've done, come back up again, but they can't come up to us. But I have heard that if they want to come up, they have to transmute that nastiness and become joyful and caring and generous and all of that.
They have
So,
to peel away the layers.
so this isn't a top hat that you've drawn, no? What is it?
No, so this is the cake. So if you think about the cake, so I am going to use glass, but if you also think about the dome and the reincarnation wheel, like there were beings that got stuck, and then there were beings that knew how to get right out of the dome. So they knew how to get out, and they were more evolved. So that's the ones that can go up and down in the layers, the ones that are already up here. But these pieces of glass, think of it as two panes of glass. They are separating soon. They haven't separated yet at all. And it's almost like the glass isn't even there yet. But eventually it will be harder to come from the bottom to the top unless they actually change themselves, like you're saying.
So they'll be sealed off. Is that what you mean?
They'll be sealed off until they make a change. Like when they make a change and they say, you know what, I have all these limiting beliefs and I'm going to get rid of 2 of them, then they'll pop up. They'll have the ability to go through the glass, just like we have the ability to go through the ice. If that makes sense. But it is all about the being, the person. It's all about them. Where do you want to be? Like, this is the self-responsibility time. So, yeah. And it is like chilly right now.
Because that's just given me, because I'm wearing this new piece.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I never heard of it before. Can't remember the name. I think it's like a galenite. They describe it as a green turquoise. Oh, it just suddenly appeared in 1967, and it does this and this and this and this, and it does this and this. And I'm like, oh my God, I need all those things right now. How did you know? And I never heard of this before. And it's just there now. And I'm just feeling when that diagram you showed, I feel like I don't know if I've said this before, but if it's not our oversoul, but the guides, our supporters in the spirit world are bringing these minerals and crystals to us exactly when we need them, so that we find them when we need them and not before.
I think so too.
Support us, because I didn't even know what this was, and I'm like, oh, I need that as well, when I was just looking at Etsy, and then it arrived, and as soon as I saw it, I had to hold it, and then I've been wearing it, and I don't want to take it off just now. And it's like it has a frequency in it that I don't have, that I need to embody. And that's what people are taking these crystals and go, oh gosh, here's this one, I can't put this one. It's because you need it. It's like a supplement.
Yeah, it's exactly like the supplement, because it's a frequency, because color is frequency. And so like here's one. Color is frequency, and also sound is frequency.
Yes.
So we need those. And
I
they're
have
like
a
little
feeling,
keys.
I have a feeling when we graduate, we're going to graduate crystals, and that we're going to love them because they're beautiful, but we're not going to need them the same way. And that we might be going into sound instead, where we can make the sound, or we'll get the crystal balls or the solfeggio forks or any of those things that we need to get. And then that's going to be how we do a lot of our healing. That's really what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I think so too. It'll be the sound through our voice as well. And also we're going to be able to work with light. So we'll be able to change the color of light eventually. This is like, we're doing this in the astral plane. So we're working with light, and we're making certain configurations of light, and we're intending certain things, and we're healing up there. We're healing our souls up there.
So my husband, who you've met, Ian, hurt his fingers and his arm last year. He's been doing physical labor for his sister. He's building like a pergola for her in her garden with a roof and everything. And he came home the other day and he said, oh, Janet, the sister, is going to give me a TENS machine for my elbow. And I'm like, that's really old technology. What do you need that for? And he said, well, my elbow's sore. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me it was sore? And he's like, oh, I never thought of telling you. And I'm like, I'm a healer and I live with you. And why didn't you tell me? I said, I don't know. So I said, well, show me where your elbow's sore. And I just did something to it for 3 minutes, and it was 80% improved, and it held for 3 days. So
Yep.
when you're talking about different access to different light, we're talking about clearing out the trauma, bringing more of our soul in. We have more power here when we do that.
Yeah.
It's incredible and it's exciting.
It's really exciting. It reminds me of that movie, The Last Mimsy.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a kids movie, but there's magic in this Mimsy. And it's like we're learning that as we go.
Mm.
Yep. And I feel like, they tried to wipe it out.
Oh yeah.
So that was the premise of that movie. And these kids were like doing everything they could to save this Mimsy.
What's a mimsy? It's like
It looked
a
like a teddy
baby.
bear to me. But
I
it had
want
this
one.
magic, it had magic.
So much in movies.
There is.
But I think it's about the embodiment. I really do. I think there's a reason why women don't love their bodies. There's a reason for that. There's a reason, because if we loved our bodies, we would be in them more. And that's when our power would come in. So we need to heal that. We need to heal the mother wound. We need to heal any animosity that we have towards our own bodies. And I know, honey, you put it so perfectly before when you said, imagine that, that your body is like a little toddler and that you have to look after it that way and that it just wants to love you. And it
Mhm.
does. Your body just wants to love you. But if you keep listening to terrible things and you keep looking at your body, oh, I hate my belly, I hate my hips, I hate this, I hate, you're taking hate and you're putting it into your body.
Yeah.
And that stops your soul from coming in. So we're faced, I always say we've got our backs to the wall. We have to make a decision now. So your decision is, do you want to continue to put the frequency of hate into your own body, carry the weight of that around you? Or do you want to just heal this, take it all out, open this beautiful vessel and let more of your soul come in so you can do that instant manifestation, so you can have these experiences, so you can heal things in 3 minutes, which is just
Oh, it's awesome.
unbelievable. Yeah. Did I tell you about Milo's eye? My
No.
dog. My dog, that was a surprise to me. The girls were playing in the hallway with the dog and he was running around and he got very, very excited. And then I heard this awful yelp. Now, the dog, he barks and he's excited, but he had this yelp and it was a yelp of serious pain. You could just tell immediately. And he came in and the girls are like, he did something to his eye. He ran into a corner of the step or something and his eye. So my heart went, I was a bit afraid. I said, okay, come in strong, look at the dog. The dog's eye looked like it had dislodged from his eye socket. It had this dead look about it all
Oh,
of a sudden. So I thought, okay, he's a dog, and then it was dinner, it was this, it was that. And I was worried and I was upset. So it was really when everybody went to bed and I just had some quiet time. I took the dog up beside me on the sofa and I looked at him and my heart just went down. I said, oh, this is terrible. I said to Ian, I said, I think the dog's going to lose his eye. I think this eye is dead. What do you think? And we both have science degrees. We both worked, with animals. He took a look and he goes, oh, well, it's his own fault. He'll figure it out. He'll learn how to live with that. And I'm like, no. So I prayed to the angels. I said, please, could we save his eye? I don't know what's going on. And I worked on it that night when I was in my bed as I was going asleep. And I felt this pop from his eye. But he was in the kitchen in the other room. I was in bed upstairs. And I went, okay, that's it. And then I just went to sleep. It's like that was it. And then the next day came down. First thing I did was look at the dog and it was fine. And the eye was back alive and it was vibrant and it was working and it was everything. And I said, okay.
yeah. It went back into place.
It just popped back in. And it was like the power of your will, when you control your thoughts, when you set your intention, when you put your power behind something, when you really, if you're in alignment with it, we go back to that word congruence, where you're authentic, you're not lying to yourself or anybody else, and you vibrate that frequency, you can do miracles. I think that
Yeah,
was
we
a
can.
miracle. was like a quiet miracle. It's not something, and I could say, oh yeah, I did this. I didn't do it. The dog was willing, the angels were helping, everything shifted.
And that's huge, the dog's willingness. So animals are much more willing to accept a miracle than a human, because the human has been programmed not to accept it. So like with Ian, when you worked on his elbow, you could have had the same result probably that you did with Milo, the dog, but because Ian was like, oh, I don't know, I'm sure there's a program running in him that he's got to suffer longer
So
with the
only
elbow.
80%, yeah. He's
Yeah,
holding
so
on
then
to
it came back.
that.
Yeah, so letting go of those programs too, and just allowing it to really work. And I think that's kind of the Christ, principle too, because I don't think he healed everybody. I think he said, oh, you're ready. And then he would heal them. Like he could tell if psychologically they were willing to accept that gift of healing.
That is so interesting. And I think it's going to be an incremental trust.
Yeah.
It's got to, because I've been doing healing now for 15 years or more. So, if you're only starting now, you have to trust that is, and it's a muscle that you build up. Again, it's a muscle that you build up, and the trust. So, but again, and I have spoken about this before, it takes us longer to do it, but we've paved a way then for people coming through to do it quicker.
Yeah. Yeah, there are people. So I had this dream the other night that I made this great book, right? And this book was like a diagram book. And then one of my friends made a diagram book that was more clear and better. And I had a moment of like, how can they get to do the better diagram book than me? And then all of a sudden I was like, stop. They're doing the second diagram book, you're doing the first, and that is going to basically ease people into understanding the diagram. So, that's the progress that's happening. So the people that come next, they're going to be more clear, they're going to be more like forceful, I think, with their ideas. And then the last one will be a child who says, this is how it is. And they just, it's just that. And you can't refute it.
Which is why they're creating all of this distraction and all of this pain to try and detract from the power of the child.
Yeah. And that's about to end. The child is going to be the teacher in the end.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. And we're going to have to get our heads around it, It'll be like, oh,
yeah,
5, but the answer to the universe.
That's okay. I don't mind that.
It is okay.
The perversion of it right now is something that's very disturbing.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so many people now who are speaking against this.
Unfortunately, with humanity, I think it has to get to a certain level of gross because they're tolerant. Humans are tolerant. They'll be like, oh, okay, well, maybe it'll get better. We'll just let that slide. And they let it slide and let it slide and let it slide, just like somebody who's in a bad relationship.
Well, there's something called the continuum of evil, which is about letting it slide. And the more you let slide, then you become the one that slid down the slippery slope. And then you turn around and suddenly you're in one of those layers that's way below where you want it to be because you let stuff slide. And this links perfectly to what you were talking earlier about boundaries.
Yes.
It's, your boundaries also need to be around what you're going to let slide. So you basically have to pull yourself out of that and go, no, it's not okay. It's not okay to do that. It's not okay to do this. And I'm going to come back down, out of that pit I've dug myself into. And I'm going to say that I was wrong. to be able to say I was wrong. I said, no, it's not okay. And I'm not going to do this. And I don't care if it upsets anybody, because for me, it's more important that I continue on my journey of truth. And people are going to have to do that. And so by us doing that, by me, I'm sending that energy out there now. I want more people to do that. I want more people to realize, oh no, I made a mistake. And it's okay to admit I made a mistake. This is not okay. And I'm not going to put up with this anymore. I'm not going to say it's okay when it isn't okay. It's not okay.
Right. And if they come out of it, so let's say somebody was in that icky, sticky place and they figure it out and they make that boundary, they're going to be an example to the other people that maybe wanted to do the same thing.
So I'm just going to take a minute here and send those people in particular anything they need, all the strength that they need, particularly if they're in positions around schools where they can influence other parents, because we can't let stuff slide anymore. It's just gone beyond ridiculous now, and the children are suffering. So
Yeah.
I say no more to that.
And the faith to know that they'll be okay as they come out of it.
Yeah.
They will recover from the trauma of leaving. Yeah.
Okay, well, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the inspiration. You see what happens when your soul drive come together.
Yeah. Well, because we're really like puzzle pieces coming together. And I think every soul tribe is like that. Like we have a little bit different perception. And when we speak, we're activating the other person's perception, and then we're making more of a whole thing. So you're creating the sphere, the oneness together.
Yeah, well, we're going further than we could do on our own, and we stimulate each other to go that little bit further with it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
So good.
So yeah, so put on that little light and say, I'm here, I'm ready to meet my soul family. But you probably already have met one or two of them. Maybe your brain just hasn't figured it out yet.
Yeah. So if that's the case, ask for the things that are holding you back from them to be cleared. Ask for help with that.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
So can we wrap this up, honey, to talk a little bit about not needing to have the answers right now as something that's important also for people to realize? Because I'm getting a lot of people saying, what am I supposed to be doing? And where am I supposed to be going? And how am I best serving? And it goes back to what I had said earlier here with you about how some of us have to renegotiate contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And there can be a limbo time, or like just a time where you're like, the frequency that you are supposed to be, to suddenly have the epiphany to realize all the things you're supposed to do. You're not quite there yet. So just relax and stop struggling and deal with what's right in front of you, because that's what you need to know, like a need to know basis. Do you have any take on that?
Well, I think so. If you're struggling and you're kind of in the rat race and you're like confused and you're thinking about it and you're stressing, get out of that environment. So if you can take yourself to nature, to the park, if you can meditate, whatever you can do, if you can sit with a tree. There is a picture, which I'm not sure if I can find it, but if you can be with a tree, then that's going to clear up so much for you, because trees are like this massive conduit for consciousness. And that's why they've been cut down everywhere. That's why they cut down the grandfather tree.
Well, I teach people how to do that in the video I made with Mark Atwood, which is my channel. The video I made about soul retrieval, I do a whole exercise there on how to connect with a tree, and how to get help from a tree and asking permission of that tree. All of that's in that video. So
yeah,
I also think computer games are good, or distraction, or just change the energy.
Read a book. Yeah.
Watch a movie. Just
get out of whatever it is you're doing, because you get stuck in a loop and we don't want loops anymore. We just want to go forward.
Do you know what's really interesting is if somebody is struggling with something and know that they need help. Let's say it's a client of mine, and then they book a session with me, but a session itself might not be for a few weeks. The fact that they've booked the session releases the struggle. And then they show up at the session several weeks later and they don't know why they're even there because, but then we do the deeper work. So you could ask yourself, what can I do today so that I can say to myself, I'm doing something about this. And so now I can stop worrying about it. I can stop struggling about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It
it's just
doesn't
like,
help.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, go on.
So I do this thing where I love to buy books, right? And if I'm inspired, then I buy the book. I don't necessarily ever open it. But I feel like as soon as I get it in the mail and I open up the box, I'm like, it's here. And I know that the knowledge is already moving into me. So whatever I needed from that book is already happening.
So yes, if you struggle, go to a bookstore, a real
Yeah.
bookstore in real life, and stand in front of which book do I need? And it might even be a novel, because True Story, which is the medium I'm beginning to use more, has the answers in story.
Mm-hmm.
And just say, okay, I have the answers in this. Don't know what the answer is. I can stop worrying and it'll come up, it'll show itself to me whenever.
Yeah.
Or just open TikTok and you get your vitamin that you need.
Yeah.
Or go to Honey's channel and randomly scroll, and then whatever shows up on you, that's the one. You're great with all of your TikToks and your videos that you have on your Telegram. So
Yeah. Whatever works for you, whatever your mode of operation is, it's going to come in. And you just say, oh, there it is. There's the answer that I was looking for.
trust is better, and to be comfortable with the not knowing.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to ever be told all the answers. We're not. And just as we've been saying, things have been moving and changing. And once we figure out this level of the game that we're playing and we reach a certain point, it's going to change again. And we're going to play the next level.
Yeah.
So I hope we are. And then all the rules will change again. So not to be too attached to things being the way you need them to be, because you don't actually need them to be that way. You just think you do. And just be flowing and let the stream take you where it will, instead of always struggling against it. I think that's really the best thing we can suggest.
Exactly. Yeah. Be that flower. Yep. This was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for listening. And I'm going to put Abby's video below with the soul retrieval. And just take care of yourself through this time. Like, you're doing amazing.
Well, I think in the soul retrieval video, I even show you, the premise of how to do it. So if that's what's needed for more of your soul to come in, then that could be something really good to do.
Really
good.
good.
Yeah. So focus on healing, focus on what's in front of you, and try and relax. We're just not going to know. So let's just enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Enjoy the ride. The answer will come when you need it, when you're ready for it. Yeah.
Excellent.
Bye, everybody.
Hi.